SeaWorld is keeping a close eye on a killer whale blamed for killing a trainer.
In a heart-stopping moment at Blue Horizon, Neptune, the star orca, turns from performer to predator, attacking its trainer in front of a stunned audience. This shocking incident is just the tip of the iceberg. Across the globe, some few other orcas have broken script, turning trained routines into dangerous confrontations. Join us as we uncover 6 terrifying last moments of these orca trainers.
A trainer at SeaWorld Orlando rushed to the hospital after she was bitten by a killer whale.
Number 6. Neptune and Maris. Blue Horizon Oceanic Park, located in sunny San Diego, California, was a top destination for marine enthusiasts. It was very popular for its famous orca performances. The park featured state-of-the-art aquariums, dolphin encounters, and a colorful coral reef exhibit. But the true heart of the park was Neptune, a colossal 20 feet long, 10,000-pound male orca. His shows drew thousands of visitors each week, making him the park's biggest star and a key source of revenue. Neptune performed 6 amazing shows weekly, always leaving the audience impressed. However, behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Trainers had been noticing disturbing behavior from Neptune. He would slap his tail against the walls of his tank and sometimes outright refuse to follow commands. Despite repeated warnings from the staff, Blue Horizon's management insisted that the shows continue, prioritizing the revenue Neptune generated over safety concerns. Among Neptune's handlers was Maris Ellington, a 27-year-old marine biologist who had worked tirelessly to become his primary trainer. Growing up along the rugged coastline of Oregon, Maris developed a deep passion for marine life. After earning her degree, she joined Blue Horizon. Maris was proud of her bond with Neptune, and so she brushed off concerns about his erratic behavior, confident she could handle him. But not everyone shared her optimism. A senior trainer had raised serious concerns months earlier, citing Neptune's growing aggression and isolation. The trainer even requested that Neptune be retired from performing or, at the very least, removed from shows. Management, however, rejected the request, unwilling to lose their star attraction. Frustrated and unwilling to compromise on safety, the trainer quit in protest. Their unprofessionalism, however, would eventually backfire. By the time of the afternoon show, Maris had already completed 1 performance earlier in the day. The amphitheater was once again filled with eager families and children, excited to watch Neptune. Despite Neptune's unpredictable behavior in recent months, Maris remained confident. She even reassured her colleagues, saying she believed he was in a good mood that day. Before the show began, the trainers reviewed the cues and safety protocols one final time. As the music swelled and the announcer welcomed the crowd, the energy in the amphitheater shifted. The audience of roughly 500 people cheered as Neptune entered the tank, his massive form gliding into the water. The show started smoothly. Under Maris's guidance, Neptune completed his opening routines flawlessly. The crowd erupted into applause as the orca did his display. For a brief while, it seemed like everything was back to normal. Neptune appeared to be his usual majestic self. Then came the finale, the centerpiece of the show, a synchronized swim between Maris and Neptune. Maris entered the water, and Neptune began circling her. Maris signaled for him to perform a breach alongside her, and for an instant, it looked like he was going to comply. But suddenly, Neptune veered off course. Without warning, he lunged at Maris, clamping his powerful jaws around her midsection. The force of the attack threw her body upward, and she briefly surfaced. Above the water, she could hear the horrified screams of the audience before Neptune yanked her back under. The trainers on the platform leapt into action, using distraction techniques to try to calm Neptune. They tossed brightly colored buoys and ropes into the tank, followed by a bucket of fish. Two trainers used long poles designed to gently nudge Neptune away, but his violent thrashing made it impossible to safely intervene. As Neptune slammed Maris against the tank walls, her lifeless body occasionally broke the surface, only to be dragged under again moments later. The audience watched in horror. Neptune finally let go of Maris after over a minute of violent thrashing, and her lifeless body rose to the surface. Rescue divers quickly entered the tank, pulling her to the deck, where medics desperately worked to save her. The injuries were devastating. Several fractured ribs, a punctured lung, and severe blunt force trauma to her chest and abdomen. Despite their efforts, Maris was pronounced dead at the scene. Chaos erupted in the aftermath. Guests were quickly evacuated from the park. Emergency personnel swarmed the area, and the amphitheater was cordoned off within hours. Blue Horizon responded by suspending all Orca shows, a move that later became permanent. The tragedy also had legal consequences for the park. Maris's grieving parents, devastated by the loss of their only child, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Blue Horizon. They accused the park of negligence, ignoring repeated warnings about Neptune's aggression and isolating him in conditions that heightened his stress. The lawsuit also pointed out inadequate safety measures and management's decision to continue performances despite known risks. After negotiations, the case was settled out of court. Blue Horizon's management agreed to a substantial settlement with Maris's family. As part of the settlement, Blue Horizon pledged to support marine conservation efforts and fund independent research into the mental health of captive orcas. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the marine park industry. Blue Horizon permanently banned orca shows, though it kept other attractions like dolphin encounters, aquariums, and conservation-focused exhibits. However, losing its star attraction led to declining attendance and mounting financial struggles. Within a few years, the park filed for bankruptcy and eventually closed its doors. Neptune was relocated to a marine sanctuary in British Columbia, where he could live in a more natural and less stressful environment. But Neptune isn't the only killer whale who was a victim of captivity leading to irreversible tragedy. Number 5. Takcoa and Claudia. Loro Parque is located along the stunning coastline of Puerto de la Cruz in Tenerife and is a globally recognized haven for wildlife. It's got over 100,000 square meters of lush greenery. The park is home to a diverse collection of species and attracts millions of visitors annually. It was initially established as a sanctuary for parrots, but it evolved into a world-class destination featuring dolphins, penguins, and its most famous residents, the orcas. Among the park's main attractions is the Orca Ocean exhibit, where these majestic marine mammals perform shows that showcase their strength, intelligence, and beauty. Yet, behind the glitz and glamour of these performances, things were quite not right. One of the park's stars was Tilikum's son, Takcoa, a 6-year-old male orca weighing over 3,300 pounds. Takcoa's impressive size and power made him a favorite among visitors, but for the trainers who worked closely with him, his story was far more complicated. Orcas, while intelligent and trainable, are still wild animals with instincts and emotions that can be difficult to predict. Takcoa had shown moments of aggression in the past, but these incidents were minor and never escalated to the point of major concern until one fateful day. Takcoa's early life was filled with disruptions. Shortly after his birth, he was separated from his mother, Taima, who always displayed aggression towards him. This behavior was thought to stem from her own traumatic past, including witnessing her mother, Gudrun, attempt to drown one of her calves. Takcoa was raised instead by a more experienced female orca, Kayla, and often paired with his half-brother, Tuar. In 2004, however, Takcoa and Tuar were transferred to SeaWorld San Antonio, where they joined a new group of orcas. This transition, along with his later move to Loro Parque, only heightened the troubles Takcoa was facing. He endured frequent aggression from other orcas, leaving visible scars from countless confrontations. Despite these hardships, Takcoa grew into a powerful but unpredictable animal. shaped by his turbulent past, a past that likely contributed to his aggression toward his trainers. One of those trainers was Claudia Volhart, a 29-year-old marine biologist from Weinheim, Germany. Claudia had always been passionate about marine life and saw her work with orcas as a dream come true. As Europe's only female orca trainer at the time, she had spent years earning the trust of these incredible animals. On what seemed like an ordinary day, Claudia prepared for another training session with Takcoa. The atmosphere was tense, though she reassured her colleagues that Takcoa was okay anyway. The session was supposed to be simple. Takcoa would nudge her feet with his snout as they swam together. Claudia stood at the edge of the pool as Takcoa approached her, his dorsal fin cutting through the water. Initially, he appeared calm, but something about his movements seemed off. Without warning, Takcoa lunged at Claudia, striking her chest with incredible force. The impact knocked the air from her lungs and sent her crashing into the water. Before she could recover, Takcoa attacked again, his massive body slamming into her with unrelenting power. Claudia struggled to regain control, but Takkoa's strength was overwhelming. He dragged her downward into the deepest part of the pool, 40 feet below the surface. Takkoa's teeth grazed her arm as he pulled her further down. The pressure of the water made it harder for her to breathe, and the pain in her chest and arm was unbearable. As Takkoa's grip tightened, Claudia's vision began to fade. Just when it seemed like there was no escape, Takcoa released her and resurfaced, still holding her arm in his mouth. With one final surge of power, he propelled both of them back to the surface. Gasping for air, Claudia tried to stay conscious, but the pain was overwhelming. Her colleagues, who had been watching in horror, rushed to her aid. They pulled her from the water and away from Takcoa, who remained in the pool. Claudia's injuries were severe: a broken elbow, a bruised lung, and deep internal trauma. She was rushed to the hospital, where doctors worked to stabilize her. Miraculously, she survived, but the attack left both physical and emotional scars that would take much longer to heal. Back at Loro Parque, the reality of the incident began to sink in. Trainers and park management understood the risks of working with such powerful animals, but Takkoa's attack was proof of the unpredictable nature of orcas in captivity. Water-based training sessions with Takcoa were immediately suspended, and the park implemented new safety measures to protect trainers. For Claudia, recovery was a slow and challenging process. While her physical injuries gradually healed, the psychological impact of the attack lingered. And of course, people began to take on the issue. Critics argued that the stress and isolation these animals experience in artificial environments contribute to their aggressive behavior. Number 4. Alexis Martinez. Alexis Martinez, a 29-year-old trainer, had been working at a marine park in Tenerife, Spain, since 2004. Over the years, he had developed a strong connection with the animals he worked with, particularly the orcas. However, tragedy struck during a Christmas show rehearsal on December 24, 2009, when Alexis was attacked by Quito, a male killer whale. That day, Alexis was conducting a training session with Quito, preparing for the upcoming holiday performance. During this session, Quito initially surfaced with Alexis Martinez and appeared calm, giving the impression that things were under control. However, those observing noticed that Quito seemed to position himself between Martinez and the stage, as though blocking his access. Despite this unusual behavior, Martinez remained composed and waited for Quito to calm down further. He then requested a stage call, which involved an underwater tone signal. Quito responded to the tone as expected and swam toward the stage, where he was met by another trainer named Brian. Once Quito reached the stage, Brian directed Martinez to swim away from the area and head toward another designated spot in the pool. As Martinez began to swim away, using a sculling motion to move through the water, Quito's behavior changed. The orca started leaning toward Martinez in a subtle but suspicious manner. Sensing the situation might escalate, Brian attempted to regain control by giving Quito a hand target, a signal used to redirect the animal's focus. Unfortunately, Quito ignored the command and moved toward Martinez. What happened next was sudden and harsh. Quito used his rostrum, the front part of his head, to push Martinez to the bottom of the pool. The effect of the attack was brutal, as it was immediate. Martinez suffered multiple internal injuries, including severe trauma to his chest. Alexis died from these injuries, with the official cause of death listed as massive internal bleeding. The incident shocked those who knew Alexis and raised concerns about the risks trainers face when working with captive orcas. A SeaWorld employee later detailed the event in an incident report. According to the account, Quito had failed to perform several behaviors and respond correctly during the training. Of course, the park described Alexis Martinez's death as an accident and claimed that his body didn't show any signs of violence. The initial explanation from the park suggested that there was nothing unusual about the cause of death. However, after the autopsy was conducted, the true extent of the injuries became clear. The autopsy revealed that Martinez had suffered severe damage caused by the orca attack. He died from serious injuries that included multiple compression fractures. His bones had shattered under intense pressure. In addition to these fractures, the autopsy report also revealed that Martinez's vital organs had been torn. There were bite marks on his body, showing that the orca had physically bitten him during the incident. These findings painted a completely different picture from what the park initially claimed, in a bid to downplay the severity of the event and avoid public backlash. In total, there have been about 40 other reports from around the world of orcas being aggressive and responding negatively to being held captive. Number 3. Shuka. In July 2012, there was a troubling incident involving Shuka, a female orca who was on a breeding loan to Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. She was originally from Marineland in France. During a show, Shuka suddenly lunged out of the water, and in doing so, she threw her trainer several feet forward. This unexpected and aggressive behavior caught everyone off guard. Shuka didn't stop there. She repeatedly lunged her trainer into the water. The whole incident was captured on video by an audience member who was watching the show, and the footage was very concerning. Many critics of marine parks have suggested that Shuka's behavior might have been caused by her lack of companionship. Before this incident, Shuka had a companion, a bottlenose dolphin named Merlin. However, Merlin was later moved to a different area of the park, leaving Shuka without a companion. Some animal experts and activists believe that the lack of a companion may have contributed to Shuka's frustration and aggression, as orcas are highly social animals and often form strong bonds with others. After this incident, Shuka was transferred to SeaWorld San Diego. Number 2. Annette, Eckis, and Shamu. On April 20th, 1971, Annette Eckis, a secretary at SeaWorld, was convinced to participate in a publicity stunt involving the park's main attraction, a 10-year-old female orca named Shamu. The stunt was part of an event designed to draw attention to the park in San Diego, California. Eckis was encouraged to ride on Shamu's back as a part of the show. Everything seemed fine at first, but as the ride was coming to an end, something went terribly wrong. Without warning, Shamu suddenly threw Eckis off her back. When she fell into the water, the orca grabbed hold of her leg and began pushing her through the pool. The situation became very dangerous, as Eckis was trapped in the orca's grip. Trainers who were watching from the side of the tank rushed to help. They attempted to pull Eckis out of the water, but Shamu wasn't letting go. The orca continued to hold onto her leg, making it difficult for anyone to rescue her. The trainers eventually had to use a pole to pry Shamu's jaws open in order to release Eckis. Once freed, she was quickly carried away on a stretcher. The injuries she sustained were serious, and she needed 25 stitches to close the wounds on her leg caused by the orca's bite. After the incident, Eckis decided to take legal action and they sued SeaWorld for the injury. However, despite the seriousness of the event, the court later overturned the monetary award she was granted on appeal, and she never got the compensation she had hoped for. Number 1. Peters and Kasatka. On November 29, 2006, a serious and frightening incident took place at SeaWorld San Diego. Kasatka, one of the park's 7 orcas, grabbed her trainer, Ken Peters, by the foot during an evening show at Shamu Stadium. The orca's grip was so strong that she dragged Peters to the bottom of the tank multiple times. The audience could do nothing but watch in shock as this situation unfolded before them. For about 9 minutes, Kasatka kept Peters submerged in the water, refusing to let go. The trainer struggled to free himself, but Kasatka's power made it difficult to escape. Finally, after what must have felt like an eternity, Kasatka released Peters, and he was able to swim away and escape from her grasp. However, even after releasing him, Kasatka didn't stop. She followed Peters as he tried to get away, and she proceeded to move over a netted barrier in an attempt to reach him again. This incident was not the first time Kasatka had shown aggressive behavior toward Ken Peters. In fact, this was the second documented attack by Kasatka on the same trainer. It became one of the most widely reported incidents at SeaWorld, and since then, Kasatka has been known to be nearly as aggressive as Tilikum. Over the years, it has become obvious that captive animals in general pose a serious threat to humans, including trainers and staff. These animals are powerful and intelligent, however, their behavior can be unpredictable, especially when confined in unnatural environments. It all just comes down to one conclusion: the wild belong only in the wild. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share it with your friends.